What's going on, guys? This is DropThisBox, and I hope all of you guys out there are having a fantastic day today. And today I want to talk about a game that really takes me back. What I mean by that is I want to talk about a game that took me back in the early stages of my childhood, especially around the time when I got my PlayStation 2, because I played a lot of games on the PlayStation 2 when it came to Ratchet and Clank, when it came to a lot of the WWE Raw versus SmackDown games. There was just a load of games that I played. But this game in particular was a game that I was so obsessed with, and I used to play it every single time I got home from school. I played it every opportunity that I had. Like, I just spent hours on end playing this game over and over and over again. And the game that I am referring to is Nicktoons Unite. Like, Nicktoons Unite was, oh my god, it was a really fun game to play all of those years ago, and I'm happy that I have the opportunity to share my thoughts with you guys on Nicktoons Unite, because I definitely do have quite a few things to say about Nicktoons Unite within this video, so I really do hope you guys enjoy it. And I don't want to waste any more time. Like, I'm just getting like super excited, you know, just bringing up Nicktoons Unite. So let's jump right into that away so I can share all my thoughts about this game. So when Nicktoons Unite came out, it felt like such a huge deal because Nickelodeon was at the top of its game back then, with shows like SpongeBob, The Fairly OddParents, Danny Phantom, and Jimmy Neutron dominating TV. And seeing all these characters come together in one game was like a dream come true. And honestly, crossovers like this weren't something you saw every day back then. The idea itself felt super exciting. What made it even better was how they built the story around the villains teaming up. Plankton, Vlad, Mr. Crocker, and Professor Calamitous all working together. That was just wild to me as a kid. It made the stakes feel so big, and it wasn't hard to get hooked in the idea of playing through this massive team up to stop them. I think what really stood out for me was how this wasn't just some throwaway idea to sell a game. They actually tied the story together in a way that made sense for the characters and their worlds. Sure, it wasn't super complex, but it didn't need to be. Just seeing SpongeBob, Jimmy, Danny, and Timmy all in the same room felt like an event in itself. Even now, I can't help but look back at Nicktoons Unite as more than just a game. I felt like Nickelodeon was saying, hey, we know you love these characters, so here's something special just for you. And honestly, that's exactly how I felt. And the concept behind Nicktoons Unite was just pure fun as a kid. I remember always wondering what it'd be like if characters from different shows met each other. Like, what would SpongeBob and Timmy Turner even talk about, or how would Jimmy Neutron and Danny Phantom work together in a fight? But what I loved was how every character brought their own personality to the mix. SpongeBob was goofy and optimistic, Jimmy was the brains, Danny was a serious hero, and Timmy added that mischievous energy. It just worked so well, and watching them interact even in short cutscenes felt like watching an episode of some ultimate crossover show. And it wasn't just the heroes that made it special, the villains teaming up was just as entertaining. Plankton was his usual over-the-top self, Crocker was as crazy as ever, and Vlad, he was still that smooth-talking villain that I loved to hate. And somehow, even though these characters came from such different worlds, their interactions felt natural. The whole thing was just a cool idea. Even now, I can't think of too many games that bring characters together in a way that feels as unique as Nicktoons Unite did. It was creative and ambitious, and I think that's why it stuck with me after all these years. Okay, so now I want to talk about the gameplay, because it wasn't perfect, but it still had its charm. The basic idea was that you'd switch between 4 characters, each with their own abilities, to fight enemies and solve puzzles. It wasn't super deep or anything, but as a kid, it was just fun to jump between SpongeBob, Danny, Jimmy, and Timmy. I'll admit the combat could get repetitive after a while, because you find yourself button mashing through waves of enemies, and sometimes it felt like the controls didn't respond the way they should. But at the same time, I didn't care, because for me, it was less about how the game played and more about the fact that I was playing as my favorite characters in the first place. And the puzzles were simple, but they made good use of each character's abilities. I like how you have to think about who to use for certain challenges, like Jimmy's gadgets are perfect for technical stuff, Danny's ghost powers let him get past obstacles, and SpongeBob's bubble powers always came in handy. It made the game feel like a team effort, which I appreciated. Even though the gameplay had its rough edges, I think it worked for what it was trying to be. It wasn't about being a perfect game, it was about giving fans the chance to experience something they'd never seen before. And for me, that was more than enough. One of the coolest parts of Nicktoons Unite was exploring the different worlds from the shows. Bikini Bottom, Dimsdale, Amity Park, and Retroville, they all had their own unique vibe, and each one felt like it was pulled straight out of the cartoon. I remember getting so excited whenever I'd enter a new level just to see how things were brought to life. The details in these worlds really stood out to me. Like in Bikini Bottom, you'd see jellyfish floating around, and little nods to SpongeBob's episodes. Dimsdale had that over-the-top cartoony look that just screamed Fairly Odd Parents. It was like stepping right into the shows, and that made the whole experience so much better. What made it even more fun was how interactive these worlds were. You weren't just walking through static environments, you were dealing with challenges and enemies that tied into the theme of the shows, like fighting robots in Bikini Bottom or using Jimmy's tech to solve puzzles in Retroville. It kept things fresh and exciting, and even now, those worlds are one of the things I remembered most about the game. They might have not been the most detailed or polished, but they captured the essence of the shows in a way that made them feel alive, and honestly, that's all I could have asked for. Looking back on Nicktoons Unite now, it's hard not to feel a wave of nostalgia, because for a lot of us, this game wasn't just another title, it was a direct link to some of the best parts of our childhood. I mean, who wouldn't get excited about revisiting Bikini Bottom, Amity Park, or Dimsdale? It brought so many of our favorite shows together in one place, and that's a feeling that stuck with me over the years. What made the nostalgia even stronger is how much this game reflected the early 2000s Nickelodeon vibe. That era was packed with some of the best cartoons, and Nicktoons Unite felt like a celebration of everything we loved about those shows. Like hearing the game's name takes me right back to the days of Saturday morning cartoons and rushing to finish homework so I could play video games. Even now, it's fun to see how fans remember this game online, whether it's through YouTube playthroughs, memes, or nostalgic discussions on forums. It's clear that Nicktoons Unite left a lasting impression. It's one of those games that might have not been perfect, but the memories we made playing it more than make up for any flaws. I think that's the beauty of nostalgia. It reminds us of how much fun we had, even if the games weren't as polished as what we have today. And for me, Nicktoons Unite will always hold a special place in my heart because it represents a time when life was simpler and everything felt a little more magical. One thing I think a lot of people don't realize is how much Nicktoons Unite paved the way for other crossovers. It wasn't just a fun one-off game, it showed how much potential there is in bringing characters from different shows together. I mean, just look at how many crossovers we've seen since then, both in gaming and in other media. The game itself even got a few sequels, like Nicktoons Battle for Volcano Island and Nicktoons Globs of Doom. While each one brought something new to the table, they all kept that core idea of teaming up Nickelodeon's biggest stars. It's clear that fans loved the concept and Nickelodeon wasn't afraid to lean into it. And it's not just limited to the old games either. Modern titles like Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl owe a lot to the groundwork laid by Nicktoons Unite. That game showed that fans will always be excited to see their favorite characters in new and unexpected ways. It's like the crossover idea has become a permanent part of Nickelodeon's identity. And looking back, Nicktoons Unite feels like it was ahead of its time. It wasn't just about selling a game, it was about creating something that celebrated everything we loved about Nickelodeon. And for that, I think it'll always be remembered as one of the greats. So I had a lot of fun talking about Nicktoons Unite within this video, as you guys can clearly tell, because like I mentioned earlier in the beginning of the video, this was a game that I used to play every single time. Like every time I came home from school, I used to play this game. Every time I was done on my homework, like I mentioned, I used to play this game. Whatever opportunity that was given to me, I used to play this game nonstop, and I just couldn't put the controller down. I just wanted to go through Bikini Bottom again. I just wanted to take the whole gang to Dimsdale or Retroville or Amity Park. I just loved everything that was introduced in this game itself, and I'm glad that I'm able to just share all my thoughts on how I feel about this game, because it really does mean a lot to me. It would probably have to be this game itself and of course Super Smash Bros. Those two games, especially Super Smash Bros. Of course, those two games really mean a lot to me, and I just have so much fun seeing all my favorite characters in these different games just working together or even competing against each other just to see, you know, how things work. Like the whole idea in itself was just something that always blew my mind every single time. But I'm very curious to hear like how you guys feel about Nicktoons Unite. Like, is there a certain character that you love to play as in this game? Was there a certain level that you always have to replay over and over again? Is there a favorite boss battle, cutscene, whatever the case may be that you guys want to let me know in the comments? And if you guys enjoy the content in this video, be sure to like and subscribe. We really appreciate it. If you guys want to follow me on my social media, be sure to check out my X, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. All the links to those are located in the description below. Be sure to click on that bell so you guys are notified whenever I drop a video on the channel. But other than that, I hope all the guys are having a fantastic day, wherever the day may be, if it's the daytime, the nighttime, or the evening. And I'll see you guys in the next video. As always, peace out.